From Arrow Video on 4K UHD comes 1981's Outland. This is a movie I remember seeing a lot about when I was a kid. It was on TV a lot when I was a kid. People always really talked it up. I used to listen to this radio show that I could barely get. It was the back when radio was a bigger thing for kids, and you would just be I'm not having a stroke. That's me pretending to tune a radio. And you could barely tune something in. There was this guy named Steve Friedman show. They called him Mr. Movie. And I remember him talking up Outland once. And it's a movie that I saw long ago, but I didn't remember. And I always remember it being referred to as High Noon in Space. So we'll tell you all about the specs, the extras, and the film itself. I'm going to upfront say I really enjoyed this film. It's not what you expect from the look of it, but it's really well made. This is, again, from 1981, which was a big year for me in the movies, and it is 4K UHD. I don't know if there's a Blu-ray option. I would just have the 4K UHD. It is 109 minutes, directed by Peter Hyams, with Sean Connery as the main character, who is a space marshal. So this takes place, think Alien. Think this movie could easily have been a spin-off of Alien, minus the whole alien thing. That world, that very industrial world where you take the world we know here of manual labor, and I mean, Alien, they were basically like space truckers or a space, a ship like freighter essentially, and they had to deal with an alien. This movie, think of them as just miners. It's a mining colony. It's like it could have easily taken the same story and set it in Australia. Like it's sci-fi only in that it is set in space in a future, but it is not sci-fi in terms of really insane concepts for the most part. So Sean Connery is this new, the last guy. They do it in periods of tenure, like or duration. You've got it's like being in the military. You've got so many years there, and then they rotate you out. He's a new marshal on this space mining colony that's on the moon of Io next to Jupiter. If you're a fan of 2010, the year we make contact, Io plays a big part in that. Peter Boyle plays the general manager, I guess, of the mining colony, who basically tells Connery up front, they work hard and they play hard. We try to keep them happy with booze and hookers and whatever when they're not working. They may get a little out of line sometime. Go easy on them. We're all in this together, and they're making money for the company, which is a thing Connery doesn't like to hear because he's very by the book. You have Francis Sternhaged as the doctor, I'd say ship's doctor, but the colony's doctor. James Sikking, who you might recognize from Hill Street Blues and some other stuff. He is sort of like the second in command, or second or third in command to Peter Boyle. Stephen Burkoff, who you would recognize as Mr. Victor Maitland, and from various things around that time. And very briefly up front, almost unrecognizable because he doesn't have the caterpillar on his lip, John Ratzenberger from, as Cliff from Cheers, who apparently was living in England for a while and is in a lot of stuff over there. He's in Empire Strikes Back, looking much more like Cliff from Cheers. So this is presented in English 2.0, English 5.1 with optional English SDH subtitles. And the basic story is that people start going crazy on this colony. And it's up to Connery to figure out why. They start going crazy and killing themselves and other people. It feels similar to Blade Runner in some ways, although this came out the year before Blade Runner. And it feels similar to some other stuff we've seen. It feels similar to High Noon in some ways, but not really beat for beat High Noon. More toward the end, it really feels like High Noon. And I don't want to give you the whole story, so I'm just going to say it is Connery trying to figure out what is going on while Peter Boyle is going, it's not a big deal. It's just, these guys are under a lot of stress, but something is going on. So it is up to Connery to find out what it is and stop it before he is stopped, or before somebody takes him out for finding out what is going on. And we'll leave it at that. So it is a good paranoid space thriller that does involve space. There is weightlessness at times. There are airlocks. There are people outside in spacesuits at times. But it's not really a sci-fi movie. It is kind of like a Western or a cop thriller that just happens to be set in space. Production design is excellent. This was shot at Pinewood Studios, where the Bond films were, so it's Connery going back to his roots. It was very top men were working on this film. Top men who did the special effects, costumes. I mean, across the board, it's a movie that I'm surprised people have kind of forgotten about, but I think they've probably forgotten about it because there aren't a lot of crazy laser fights. There aren't aliens in this. There aren't, a lot of explosions and things like this. I mean, there's exciting stuff in here. It's just, it's not what a lot of people, I think, are looking for that. I so clearly remember the logo of this film. I remember when this used to air on local TV all the time. I remember seeing like the paperback novelization of this, the poster, the video covers. It's a movie that was like really kind of around for a while and then just slipped away. So this is the kind of stuff I'm glad Arrow is bringing back. This kind of stuff that, like, they brought back, I mean, not that it was ever forgotten, but they brought back Silent Running in a really excellent Blu-ray and then an even better looking 4K UHD, and they're doing that with Outland. So this really, Outland should really kind of sit next to like Silent Running and Blade Runner and Alien on your shelf, really. It was just, it's good. The new transfer looks great. Sharp, very natural color. It never makes any of the miniatures or opticals look cheap or stand out like sometimes a really good transfer can do, where it'll kind of see the strings. There's, for me, a kind of an infamous restoration of the 50s War of the Worlds film, where suddenly you could see all these strings on the Martian ships like incredibly clearly because they cleaned it up so much. Some of the Three Stooges DVDs, I've never seen them on Blu-ray, but some of the DVD transfers when they were doing those definitive chronological sets, and suddenly you could see the string that was going to pull something out of frame. This doesn't do that. This looks great. Special features are a commentary by Peter Hyams. Now, I didn't do enough research to tell you whether any of this stuff was ported over from a previous edition, but Arrow tends to do that. Like if there are extras that were done in the past, they try to make any previous version you had obsolete. So that's been, it's either new or it's been ported over. Commentary by Chris Alexander of Fangoria, which is basically a fan appreciation. But he sings the praises nonstop of this film and points out things. So it was an interesting listen. If I had to go and re-listen to any of them, it would probably be the Hyams over the Alexander, but it's cool that it's there. Interviews, A Corridor of Accidents, an interview with Peter Hyams, 52 minutes of him talking about how the movie came to be. It's very interesting. Stephen Goldblatt remembers filming Peter Hyams' Outland. That is 29 minutes. The Introvision files. Stephen Goldblatt was the composer of Outland. The Introvision files, William Mesa on Outland, 34 minutes. Introvision was a then cutting-edge special effects process that would put actors like in a model. It was a way of shooting something. They get into it in greater detail than I can remember, but instead of just putting an actor in front of a screen, it was a way of using foregrounds and backgrounds in a way that would make an actor look like they actually inhabited that space. That's really interesting, and they get into that. No Place for Heroes, it's an appreciation by film scholar Josh Nelson. That's 18 minutes. Hollywood Outland. Films historian Howard S. Berger takes a closer look at the insider-outsider auteurism of Peter Hyams. That's 21 minutes. That stuff, the video essays are always very interesting. And then you get original 2-minute teaser, original 3-minute trailer, and a 158 image gallery. You also get, which I don't get, when I get these discs, I don't think I have one near me. They are just a white-faced disc in a clear plastic sleeve, so I don't get the packaging. Typically, Arrow releases, especially the first edition of an Arrow release, will come with a nice hefty booklet with writing on the film and stills, and a lot of times they'll give you posters or still sets or lobby car reproductions or all that. So go to the retailer of your choice to take a look at what the packaging is, but I pretty highly recommend Outland.